Have you ever allowed the idea that the Earth itself is an intelligent being? Well, not a creature, maybe an entity, as if it has a mind and its own survival instincts. All this is like the beginning of a fantastic movie, where the planet we walk on and live our daily lives on suddenly wakes up, realizes that she doesn't like us that much and gets out of control. No, thank you, no need. We are talking rather about the fact that the collective activity of life, for example, microbes and plants, can change the planet and give it its own life, as if the planet has a green mind. The metaphor of the Earth as a living planet makes sense. Creatures all over the world crawl, swim, walk and fly in the upper layers of land, ocean and in the sky. Plants cover most of our world. And there are viruses and bacteria in the water, soil and even in the atmosphere. Now imagine that all living beings on Earth, plants, animals, and microbes, are a huge team working together. They have different jobs, but they all do their job to make the planet a better place to live. For example, plants produce the oxygen we breathe, and insects help pollinate flowers. All together they form the biosphere, which is a team of life on Earth. This is where the idea of planetary intelligence comes into play. Both individuals and groups, as well as the whole planet, can be smart. Researchers believe that we can measure the intelligence of a planet by its ability to maintain its existence forever. And just as humans must work together to survive, the collective intelligence of a planet is measured by the ability of all life on it to cooperate to achieve this goal. The planet is a complex system that knows how to take care of itself. For example, forests can exchange nutrients through secret underground networks of fungi. This helps all trees stay healthy. Obviously, we can learn a lot from forests. If we were to jump into a fantasy universe in search of intelligent conscious planets, we would definitely choose the Mog from the Green Lantern movie. This is a special planetary entity that can influence the weather, the level of gravity, plant growth and some other conditions on the surface. What about the amazing Pandora from Avatar? Do you remember the fascinating scenes of flora and fauna with organs that resemble tentacles? They allow creatures to interact with each other on a neural level, as if the whole planet is one giant brain, the cells of which are many small trees, animals and other creatures. We are far from that, but why not dream? Now our civilization is at a stage that scientists have called an immature technosphere. This means that we are still too focused on using technologies that do not always benefit our planet. We don't have planetary intelligence or a collective understanding of what needs to be done to improve the condition of the Earth. Instead, we just do our own thing. Researchers have come up with 4 stages of the Earth's past and future to explain how planetary intelligence can affect the long-term future of humanity. The first stage. This is what we call the immature biosphere. It was then, billions of years ago, that life was born on Earth. On the bare Earth, without vegetation, only microbes existed. There was no global feedback, which means that these microbes could not yet influence the Earth, its atmosphere or other systems. The second stage. Mature biosphere. From 2.5 billion to 540 million years ago, when stable continents were formed and the biosphere began to exert a strong influence on the Earth. The third stage, known as the immature technosphere. This is where we are right now. Communication systems, technologies, transport, electricity and computers that consume the Earth's resources and affect the biosphere. The fourth stage, also known as the mature technosphere, is what the Earth should strive for in the future. This means that technologies will benefit the entire planet. We will use sustainable forms of energy such as solar energy. Planetary intelligence is a sign of a mature planet, and researchers are trying to understand how we can move towards it. What we do on an individual level really matters. The collective activity of life, for example, microbes or plants, can change the planet and make it something more than a lifeless stone floating in space. Thanks to the biosphere, our home planet realized billions of years ago how to support life on its own, and this continues to this day. Now we need to figure out how to create such a self-sustaining system. But this time with the help of the technosphere. Is it hard to imagine that planets can become intelligent at all, like Pandora or some other imaginary conscious world? There are several reasons for this. First, planets are formed based on how various materials, such as rocks, gases and liquids, gather around a new star. It's like a big family party where everyone brings their own ingredients to cook a delicious dish. And just as these ingredients won't suddenly turn into a living being, the materials that make up the planet won't just turn into conscious beings. On Earth, after billions of years of complex chemical reactions, some molecules began to reproduce themselves and transmit information. This is how life on our planet was born. And Earth is the only such example that we have. Here is the second reason. Imagine that you have a large garden where you have planted a lot of fungi or bacteria, hoping that they will become very smart and help you take care of the garden. But fungi and bacteria don't have a brain like we do, and they don't need one. Having a big brain costs animals a lot, it requires a lot of energy to work. So animals become as smart as necessary for survival and prosperity in the environment. Dogs and cats are pretty smart, so they need to be able to avoid dangers and find food. They don't need human intelligence for things like building houses, creating works of art, or inventing new technologies. It would be difficult to bring all living beings and plants to the same level of intelligence. The third reason why it will be difficult for the planet to become intelligent is the main rule of the animal kingdom: the strongest survives. All creatures compete for resources such as water, food, and space. And not only different species compete with each other, but also individuals within the same species. Remember how crabs fight for territory on the beach. Or how wolf packs fight for prey. Or what people do when they see an empty place on a crowded beach. Such competition is a poor basis for global cooperation. There are several exceptions to this rule. For example, ants. They may not be the smartest creatures on the planet, but when they get together in colonies, they can achieve amazing things, such as carrying heavy finds, building nests, raising offspring, and even farming. In fact, they act as a superorganism where all the ants work together to achieve a common goal. Insects such as bees and ants are very altruistic and do everything to ensure the reproduction of their queen. If one large ant colony took over our entire planet, it could act as a single mind and work in the interests of the colony and the planet until the resources run out. But in reality, it is difficult to imagine that any organism, even a superorganism, will reach such a level of awareness. The fifth reason. How can we communication? When communicating, ants use pheromones and people use nerves. Both of these methods work well for small organisms, but when it comes to a giant planet-sized creature, it's hard to make communication fast and efficient. Thus, communication within the planetary organism will be much slower than what computers and smartphones have accustomed us to. Well, let's continue dreaming about Pandora. That's it. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel and like this video. See you in our next videos.